Kylie.
I'm Corey.
And we are Lit Libations.
Welcome, everyone,
Welcome
to our 26th episode.
Yay!
When He Was Wicked, Part 2, Francesca's story.
The best story.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Ooh,
I think so.
Yeah, no, it's good. I just the second half I mostly listened to it and it was like over the 4th of July weekend, so my mind was like everywhere and I was like not paying attention, and so I did feel like I didn't feel it like I really could have, and that was my fault, but it's whatever.
I think it's fun because in this book I feel like, well, and it's not been since the first book that I feel like the woman character is the one that's maybe a little bit, in my opinion, more controversial. Like I tended to favor Michael.
I agree. Especially 100%. The last few chapters, yeah.
I agree.
And I do mention that a couple of times in my notes because I did them today.
Well, and even in the first book, like, I wasn't, like, rooting for Simon. Like, I was like, fuck Daphne. But I also wasn't rooting for Simon.
Right, okay. Yeah.
But I was, like, rooting for Michael.
Okay, yeah, I see that. I can feel that.
Yeah. Okay.
Before we get started, go join the Facebook group. It's called Lit Libations Lounge. The answer to the question is Highburn.
Yeah.
Go join it. And I wanted to say that by the time this comes out, I'm hoping the website will be up. And I'm pretty sure it's litlibationspodcast.com. I have to go double check that. It might just be litlibations.com, but I'm going to get that up and running. It's coming together. I'm also working on an environmentally friendly merch option, which just means it'll be like print on demand kind of thing. So I hope to get at least a couple things up and running on that when the website drops. That'll be fun.
We also would like to start looking into doing some bonus content.
Yeah.
So we would really appreciate it if you guys could email us at litlibationspodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you would like to see for our bonus content. We have a couple ideas.
Yes.
But we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, like what we're thinking about doing books that we're going to chop down instead of splitting it in between 2 episodes like we've been doing with all these books. We're going to do 1 episode, cut down the recap, and so we have more time for discussion. And I think that'll be good.
And we can go more into like the TV shows or movies or of whatever books that we review as well. Go more into like comparisons and things like that. In the future, maybe even we will just leave that specifically for the bonus content.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a couple ideas. But if there's anything else that you've seen across like Book Talk or I don't know, Patreons or whatever that you like. Yeah, please let us know.
Shoot us some ideas. Yeah, we were thinking about doing like the Bridgerton TV show, talking about that like more in depth and comparing it to the books and stuff like that. I think that would be fun and not too difficult to fit in.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to say that we're going to be doing the Uglies trilogy next. And that's by Scott Westerfeld. That will be our first male author that we're reading.
That's exciting.
I
didn't realize that was a male author.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's about like the society, this dystopian society in the future where you're considered ugly until you turn 16 and you get this like extreme cosmetic surgery that makes you pretty.
Oh wait, oh my God, what? Yeah. I have definitely never read this.
No, yeah.
I've heard of this, but I've never in my life actually read it. That's crazy.
It's so interesting. It's so fun.
I thought it was just like high school stuff. Oh my God, wait, what?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's going to be fun. It's YA, it's young adult, so there's like, it's not smut. It's going to be a little bit different than what we've been covering, but it's still a good series. And the movie's coming out on Netflix in, what did I say? In September or August or something.
Yeah, it looks like Joey King was casted for it. Not my choice. Not would have been my choice at all. But
I don't know why everybody hates her. It's fine. We don't have to talk about it.
I'm the least biggest.
But that's gonna be so fun. It was one of my favorite series in high school. And then for the first bonus episode, we were gonna do It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, because that comes out also on Netflix, or I think in theaters, August 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were thinking about making that a bonus episode. So let us know what you think about that. And we're also going to be we're thinking about and talking about doing more TikTok lives.
Yes.
So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. And we're just I think for that, we're going to do a little bit more, just different things to show off our personality and our other interests just as well.
Yeah. Because we're not just book girlies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's
that'll be
more.
fun.
Yeah, we're like an onion. Like we just
Gotta
need to peel back
layers. Oh, is that a
A
reference
little
to
Love Island reference, baby.
Oh my God, if you want to hear us talk about Love Island, let us know.
We should do that. We should do a live where we just talk about Love Island.
Yeah,
I
we
have
should.
so many opinions.
We should. I'm down for that.
Okay.
All right, let's get into it. What are we drinking today?
We're drinking a mojito. I'm almost halfway through my first
Oh my
one.
gosh, yum, yum, yum. It's so good.
And
It's
there
just-
was no reason. We just wanted
Yeah,
a mojito.
it's so fresh. It's so really hot today, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a perfect.
It's like an
perfect drink.
alcoholic lemonade, kind of. But we could have just done an alcoholic lemonade, but like, no.
We've been doing that
Yeah, we've been doing that.
because of the promenading.
Exactly.
So yeah, the mojito is really good and fresh. And that's just a typical one, like white rum, simple syrup, lime
Yeah,
juice,
mint, lime juice,
mint
and
leaves,
club soda.
and soda water.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's
it's,
so good.
delicioso.
It is so good. I didn't know I was a mojito girl. I didn't know.
I did. After I went to Mexico, I had like 17 billion of them. in 1
My
week.
drink in Mexico was rum runner.
What's a rum runner?
I don't know. It's super tropical and it has rum in it.
I'm
It's
obsessed.
very tropical.
We should go to Mexico sometime.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Okay. I'm in.
All right. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Where we left off, Colin had just intercepted Michael at the club after he satisfyingly defended Francesca's honor, and he told Michael, why not marry her? What's the problem? But Michael leaves freaked out. Chapter 13. Michael's mother, Helen, writes to Michael 2 years after he left for India, telling him that Francesca is thriving with the earldom. And, you know, Michael, you should write her. I tell her all your stories, but like, you should write her. The rest of the week passes in a blur for Michael, and there's many a man vying for Francesca's hand with poetry and flowers, etc. And he's annoyed because none of them are clever or original. He's thinking how he had never let himself think about marrying Francesca, but now it's consuming him. And now he's freaking out a little bit because Colin knew, and he's terrified he'll tell Francesca. Flash forward, he's at the Berwick ball standing off to the side. His mother comes over to him and tells him he should dance with Francesca. Her dance card is going to fill up really fast. You should go dance with her now. And he's like, yes, I'm going to, but I'm going to dance with you first. And just a stall because he doesn't want to go see Francesca.
Does it seem like maybe sometimes the interactions between Helen and Janet and Michael or Francesca, does it feel like maybe they kind of are on to something between the two of them, or do you not get that vibe? 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like I definitely do.
For sure. I mean, even in the letter at the beginning of this one, like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
yeah, for sure.
That's fair.
But then, yeah, well, maybe. I don't know.
I definitely got that vibe. I definitely got
Okay.
that vibe. I would. Yeah. We'll talk
All right.
about it more in the end.
Yeah, there's a thing in the end.
Yeah.
But he keeps catching glances of Francesca from across the ballroom, and she's looking fine and green. And then all of a sudden, she's gone, and he can't find her. He's worried she was lured outside because he last saw her near the French doors that led to the back gardens. So he carefully slips outside unnoticed and hears Francesca's voice. And she sounds happy, and she was laughing, and she sounded flirtatious. And this cuts him like a knife, and he wants to leave, but he can't. Something compels him to stay and listen. And he does mention that he never overheard him and Francesca and John when they were talking. So like even if he had walked in on them accidentally, he would turn his ass right around. But
Yeah.
something compels him to stay in this moment. And it's a good thing too because she's all of a sudden saying no, no, and a third no, and then Michael is running. Switching to Francesca, she's with Sir Geoffrey Fowler. And he was the one of the guys that approached him at the club and was like, ooh, double dowry. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't wait to get rid of her.
Yeah.
I'm going to court her ass. Anyways, and she knew she shouldn't have come out with him, but he was polite and charming. It was fine at first. She was enjoying the heady intoxication of knowing that she was desired. It doesn't get past her that maybe all these men are after the infamous double dowry or an in to two of Britain's most notable families, which is the Sterlings and the Bridgertons.
Yep.
So she wanted to enjoy it, but he kissed her without her consent. She realizes he had no intention of letting her go back to the party and started to bring her leg back to knee him in the balls when he, quote, quite simply disappeared. And she's shocked to realize it's Michael. He's fuming. He says, say the word. Just say the word and I'll crush his ribs. Just tell me to do it.
Yeah, and he's got his foot on his chest.
Yeah.
I would have said, do it.
You would have.
I would have
so
said,
fast.
say the word. Word.
Word. But she says no. There's no reason to hurt him. and she's afraid of what would happen to her reputation if anyone caught them right now. Michael tells her she shouldn't have come out here with him, but it's not your fault that he forced his attentions on you. So that's nice. He doesn't victim blame her.
This is crazy because, like, honestly, this could have been terrible, and this is the second woman to which this has happened to.
I was thinking that too, like with Sophie.
Well, no, third, kind of, because
Sophie and Daphne with what's his face?
Burbrook,
yeah,
and the other guy, yeah, and all of his friends too. Sophie's was like brutal. So
Very
is this
brutal. That
one.
one was
So
shocking.
is this one.
Yeah, and that makes me think like how else often does this happen to other characters off the page? Like
probably a lot. I would assume that this is a big reason why they encourage people also not to go away without a chaperone.
Yeah.
Like also for the women's safety, not just their reputation. I would assume.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I don't know. I hate it.
I do too.
It's awful. Michael hauls Jeffrey to his feet and forces him to apologize to Francesca. And he tells him, quote, "If you ever step within 10 yards of Lady Kilmartin again, I will personally disembowel you. And you should probably leave town for a month." And then Jeffrey like runs off. He doesn't even run back through the ball. He runs like out the gate and just home.
And into the night.
And into the night. Francesca then apologizes and he says, "Don't. It was his fault." And he's pissed. She realizes he's got an impressive hold on his temper in this moment, but he looks like he's in pain. He's acting weird, and Francesca doesn't feel safe or familiar at the moment, and she wants to go home. He escorts her through the back gate to her carriage, promising to give everyone inside excuses as to where she went. And before she goes, she asks him, "How do you know I was out here? Were you watching me?" And he says, I'm always watching you." But he's like in a sad way, like deflated.
I'm always watching you.
Yeah.
This night, I guess it wasn't the same night that they both let something slip. But so far, they have both let something slip.
With the Francesca was with "I'll be watching your suitors" or
and counting everyone,
breaking the broken hearts. Yeah. Sad. Chapter 14. Michael asks his mother in a letter if Francesca said she missed him or did Helen just infer it. And this was 2 years after him leaving for India. Because he's like, "Francesca misses you." Like, did she say that? Or
the mothers have to know that at the very least he likes her.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
It's a mother's intuition. I feel like Helen definitely has a good intuition.
Or they've got their eyes and ears closed.
Maybe. 3 hours later, Francesca is at Kilmartin in London, waiting up for Michael to come home, and she thinks about how Michael's actions against Jeffrey felt like an obligation rather than something he wanted to do. He's like, he had to come save me. He didn't really want to. She
is the biggest, like she's in such Delulu land.
She is for so long. She's spiraling, thinking that she doesn't know Michael at all. She convinces herself she's a burden on him and an obligation, and that he's keeping secrets. She listens from her room and hears Michael return home, and she thinks, finally, I can go to sleep now. But instead, she runs out into the hallway to meet him. She notices how handsome he is and wonders, when did that start happening?
She's thought this like 3 times already.
Yeah, she has. She doesn't know what to do or say, but knows she needs to convince herself he really is the person she believed him to be, because that would mean she was still the same too. And she's really going through it right now. Because she didn't feel the same. Finally, she asks him if he's all right, and she thanks him for coming to her aid. And she tells him she would have kneed him in the balls because, like, I think her brothers taught her how to defend herself.
Yeah,
but it was nice that I didn't have to.
Yeah.
He says, "You're welcome," but quickly excuses himself. But she grabs him and says, "Why are you angry with me?" And he's like, "Don't be silly. I'm not angry. I'm just going to bed." And you could tell he's like trying to get away from her. And she follows him into his bedroom. And he's like, "What are you doing? You need to leave." But she demands, "Not until you tell me what's going on." Quote, "Michael held himself perfectly still. His every muscle had frozen into a hard, stiff line. And it was a blessing, really, because if he'd allowed himself to move, if he'd felt even capable of moving, he would have lunged at her. And what he would do when he caught her was anyone's guess." I don't know
what that's supposed to mean.
Where that was going to go.
I don't know.
Is he going to like hate fuck her or beat her? I don't know.
No, I don't disagree. Like it's very like jarring.
Yeah, it was
very
a jarring line.
I think it's supposed to mean something sexual, but it also is super weird in this moment because we're not even 100% sure that she wants that. Like,
right.
It's obvious that there's some feelings from Francesca to Michael, but it's also clear that she doesn't understand it. or really like
right.
We don't know if she would reciprocate it at this moment. So it feels really,
it's really weird.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
His world had been turned upside down by Cullen's words. Why don't you just marry her? He tells her again to leave, but she doesn't. And he notices what she's wearing.
Oh, God.
In her hair and how it's falling over her shoulders. And he's staring at her toes. And he's like, why am I staring at her toes? She asks again, why are you angry with me? Because I want to remarry? She says out loud that the desire to remarry makes her feel like shit because of John. She feels selfish, but she wants a baby so damned much. She starts to tell him, you don't know, and turns away from him. And he says, I don't know what. And he gets really close to her. And she turns around to face him. And his body is burning. And if it were anyone else but Francesca, he would have sworn she wanted to be kissed. And there was no stopping him now, not guilt or sacrifice. And he is going to kiss her. And then switching to Francesca, she did indeed want him to kiss her. She's wrestling with the fact that she wants him. It's Michael. It's Michael. I can't want him. She leaned in a teeny tiny bit and he lifted her chin and raised her face, and she didn't say no, and so he kissed her. Quote, it was a sort of kiss that seduced with subtlety, sent tingles through her body, and left her desperate for more. She knows it's wrong, but can't stop. He pulls her toward him by the lower back, and she grows hot, molten, wicked. Michael's hands find their way to her breasts, and this is too far, she says no. So, I mean, he does do it. Like, is first base kissing a second base?
Yeah.
So
I guess, yeah.
She just repeats, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't. And Michael is upset, but he's like, just go then. And she ran to her bedroom. Then the next day she ran to her mother. And the day after that, she ran all the way to Scotland.
I will say that when I'm reading this, like I was so frustrated a little bit because of, and I think this is a testament to actually how well this was written, because I was actually getting like very frustrated with the fact that like neither of them at this point could come to terms or like have any self-awareness, not neither of them, mostly Francesca, about the fact that like she liked him, or that he had no like recollection of anything that she liked him at all.
Right.
Like everything felt so clear cut.
Yeah.
And I feel like
it's hard to get inside Francesca's frame of mind.
Yeah, but
it's so obvious that Michael like loves her.
Sure, but it also feels fairly obvious that she has feelings for him.
Yeah.
Like with her actions and the way she reaches out to him and stuff like that. Like it just feels like,
yeah.
Like, God, this is annoying.
Yeah, she does. She just doesn't admit it to herself or like even recognize that for a very long time.
And it's probably a good thing that he never like tried to point it out either.
He's like, you love me.
Yeah. I know you like me.
Like, hello. Are you kidding?
Yeah, right? I know this. I know it. Like, I know it.
Chapter 15. Helen's response to Michael's letter after 2 years and 4 months in India was telling him to come home. He's missed and he has responsibilities. Like, you have an earldom to run. Yeah. It's time. Francesca explains to Janet and Helen that her sudden departure was an emergency because the sheep had spotted fever. But to Michael, she wrote, it was wrong. Forgive me. Michael is sitting in his study wondering how best to self-flagellate himself because he kissed Francesca.
What is self-flagellate?
Like to punish yourself.
Oh.
Like because of like a sexual thing that you did.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah, I had to Google it. I took it out, but I put it back in. It was good. Kissing is not a good way to hide your feelings for a woman. That's what he's thinking. But this kiss exceeded his every fantasy. It was great, but it wasn't going to happen again, and now things will never be the same. He thinks about the kiss and why she thinks she needs to apologize for it because it was all him, which is like kind of what you were just saying.
Yeah.
He picks up an invitation to a party and thinks about how he doesn't want to go and potentially see any Bridgerton women that resemble Francesca. So he goes to La Belle Maison. It's a brothel. It was classy and discreet, so don't worry. And one could be assured that the women there were clean and there of their own free will. I love how they have to clarify that. Don't worry, it's the best brothel in town. And John had gone sometimes before him and Francesca were married. So yeah, it's okay.
It sounded like a lot of the higher society. Well, and to be fair, because like, not to be fair, that sounds okay. Here's okay.
Record scratch.
So basically what I mean is I feel like at this time brothels were a very popular thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure no well, I guess I don't know. Sex work is a thing now. You know, do what you
sex work is
gotta
fine.
do. So I'm assuming that not every person that worked at a brothel wanted to work at a brothel at the time, but that was just probably the best way to make money. But and
there's no way to. Well, there's no way also to say like everyone is there on their own free will.
But yeah, there's no way to say that. I agree. That's probably definitely not the case. But I will say that the men at this time, this is how they got their pleasures in, was going to brothels. Like this was a very normalized thing, I feel like, at this point in society, which is crazy. Because obviously the women, they're high society women that were not like,
you couldn't just go and have sex with them. Yeah.
Right. Even if you were courting them or whatever, you had to be married.
Yeah.
So this is kind of how they had their versions of release, or, you know, sleeping with widows or married ladies. So the options are crazy.
I just thought it was funny. Like she was really trying to sell it to us.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's a really good one. The girls are so
he's
clean.
not a fuck boy, really, because he's going to the nicest brothel in town.
Yeah, so it's okay.
Like he's a rake, but he's like a good rake. It's crazy.
And he rejected the first girl presented to him because she was too blonde. He rejected the brunette because she was too exotic. A redhead, all wrong. Getting colder. You're getting colder. He shuffles through these girls like a deck of cards. Too young, too old, too big of breasts.
Too young.
Too skinny. Ew, too young. I don't like that.
I
didn't realize that. Maybe she was just like 18 and he wanted a 24-year-old.
I'm going to say,
we're going to go with that because I can't contemplate anything else.
Nope.
And we can't go there.
Nope.
Then he chooses one at random just to get it over with. But he leaves after 2 minutes alone because he's ruined. He can't stop thinking about Francesca. So he doesn't actually have sex with anybody, I think.
Yeah.
And it's so sweet because he's so in love with Francesca.
Yeah.
That's what
I know.
So they're trying to sell us. That's fine.
The problem is like all the other guys, probably 112% have gone to brothels before they like every other guy in the series. Colin, probably Anthony, probably Benedict, and probably Simon.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's just funny. It was just funny how she tried to sell it to us.
Ugh. Yeah, it is really funny. She did.
But anyways, he runs into Colin at the club, which is where he went after this little thing at the brothel
excursion.
Yeah, his little excursion. He wants to know what Michael thinks about Francesca leaving for Scotland so early in the season. It's only been a fortnight since she returned.
Drink.
Michael, however, is in no mood to chat, and Colin notices for sure. He notices, but he doesn't care. He's still cool, calm, and collected. He tries to toast to happiness in general, like Colin, and Michael thinks about strangling him, and so Colin toasts to his own happiness instead.
I'll be honest, I would probably strangle Colin too. He's being so butlery right now.
That's what I was gonna say, like the butler, just skirting around to the fucking subject.
Colin was born to be a butler. I'm not even joking. He was born in the wrong class.
That's hilarious.
It feels like that's his vibe.
But he toasts to himself, but to me. He basically says, have you made a decision regarding Francesca? Because you know where I stand on it. And Michael says, you don't know a damn thing, Bridgerton. And then Colin says, if I had a dime for like every time I'd heard that, mostly from my sisters. And this response, like this deflection, this sidestep reminds Michael of himself, and he gets angry. Quote, nothing had the power to irritate like the reflection of one's own behavior in someone else. I think that's interesting for a couple comments that I have later. Colin says, you do realize, Kilmartin, that there is no reason you can't marry her. None at all, except, of course, the reasons you manufacture for yourself. Manufacture. Sure.
Which also, he said like, if she doesn't want to marry him, but sure.
Yeah, don't think about Francesca's thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, the only reason, like literally the only reasons are the stuff that you make up in your head. That's it.
I didn't catch that.
I'm catching it like as you're reading it back. I'm like, wait a minute. Colin,
come on. But he's like, if you don't want to marry her, and Michael says she might say no, which is starting to turn in his mind. Then Colin tells him that he had just proposed. Well, he said something about like, oh, they usually do say no the first time. Well, except for me. I just proposed this afternoon and she said yes the first time.
Yeah, after she fell flat on her face.
Yeah, and he explains a little bit and it was kind of funny.
And also, she didn't even like fully say, didn't she like not fully say yes? He like just dragged her into the house. She was like, what? And he was like, come on, let's do it right now.
Wait, right? When did she say yes?
I don't know. I feel like obviously
after...
she was going to say, like, she would have said yes no matter what.
Yeah, I feel like it was like during like that talk with the whole family, or like right after. Or something.
Yeah, Like I feel like she just accepted it, but I don't think I feel like she never actually said like, yeah, for sure, let's do. He just like dragged her in. Like that's how I remember. I could be wrong. You can correct me in the comments.
Yeah, please correct us. Send us an email.
I might go back and look later, but
yeah, that'd be interesting. I would like to know. It doesn't really matter, but it's also interesting that Colin is like just off at the club at the afternoon after he proposed. He's just I'm gonna go get a drink, Penelope. I'll be back in a couple hours.
Yeah, right. Well, they probably aren't together. Like she's probably like doing wedding planning stuff.
It's the day of.
Yeah, but they don't stay together. They can't fuck yet.
Yeah, but
not
like
until they marry.
Hang out. I don't know. Go tell the Bridgertons. I don't know.
I think they did.
Oh, okay.
It could be like, because I think it's later at night. Like I think it's like late.
That makes sense. Michael's first thought when Colin says he asked Penelope to be his wife was the one who doesn't speak.
If he says one more fucking thing about our girl Penelope,
I don't think he does, but like you better shut your mouth.
I know. What is his problem?
For real. But he's more surprised that he would marry in general. Then he's like, has anyone told Francesca? And Colin's like, well, it was just this afternoon. And she's like 4 days away. So no. She'll want to know. Someone ought to tell her. And Colin says, well, I'll see you in a month then, knowing that Michael is going to chase Francesca in Scotland. This is the perfect excuse to go see her because he wanted to, really. Now he has an excuse. 4 days later, he's at Kilmartin in Scotland. For the first time in 4 years. This is the first time since he left for India that he's back at Kilmartin. He'd rehearsed what he was going to say to Francesca 1,000 times since his conversation with Colin, and he is going to try to convince himself and her that he is going to marry her. He thinks if he presents it in practical terms, she'll warm to the idea. Now that the thought of marrying her was real, he had to make it happen. He knew he'd never have her heart, but he would have most of her, and that would be enough. Even half of Francesca would be ecstasy. That sounds so selfish. He does mention he'd never force her to marry him, but her feelings don't seem to matter at this moment. So I guess I did clock that a little bit.
Yeah. Chapter 16. Michael is writing to Helen, telling her that if Francesca wasn't managing the earldom so well, he would have already returned home.
She's got it covered.
She's got it covered. I don't need to be home. No. Okay? Leave me alone. Have you tried just leaving me alone? Francesca didn't want to think of herself as a coward, but she chose the coward's path happily in this situation. Staying in London meant staying with Michael, and they had kissed, and she had felt something she didn't expect to feel again after John. It had been the most incredible kiss. Why are you laughing?
Because this kiss. Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. I couldn't remember. Incredible.
I don't know.
Unfathomable. No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it.
Unfathomable. Too many syllables.
My face is red. It's turning red. I'm embarrassed about it. Oh, God. She'd been at Kilmartin in Scotland for a week now, and she felt restless. She had spent long bouts of her day walking the countryside to clear her mind. Right now, she was walking a particularly large hillside and decided it was late, and she needed to head back. When she returned, her butler, Davies, let her know that she had a visitor, and it was Michael. This is a different or the same butler? Do you remember?
So I think that's her butler, and then Michael has a valet named Rivers.
Rivers,
okay. We decided, yeah.
Okay. So he went with her to Kilmartin, Scotland, because he was in London.
Oh, he was? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
I wasn't sure if there was one for Scotland and then one for London.
Like, Davies, pack your bag. We're leaving.
Davies, pack your bag. She had to pick him up at Kilmartin House. Is that what
really? I don't know. It's so funny.
Oh my God. That's actually so funny. She had practiced what she would say to him many times in her head, but she knew none of them would suffice. She was going to have to make it up on her own, like in the moment.
Oh, God.
When she walked into the drawing room, he was facing the window. It looked like he had made the entire trip without stopping, which would be clinically insane considering how far it was. But I actually think he was just sitting up front with the driver because she talked about she talked about how he always liked to be very like to talk to people and he was very outgoing. It was a bit awkward at first, but he let her know that Colin and Penelope were engaged. Fran was obviously shocked at first, but stoked about it and said that they would suit tremendously. She asked how long he'd be staying, and he told her it all depended on her.
Oh, it's up to you, girly.
She said she would have the Earl's bedchambers prepared and that she would move down the hall, and he told her that might not be necessary.
Oh,
Then he
confidence.
told her, I know. He is like, then he told her to shut the door. I know. She was hesitant at first, but she like looked at him and saw that he was being very, very fucking serious. And so she went and shut the door. He made his speech and it was a bit awkward and it was like really long winded. It was like 4 pages.
I don't remember it.
It was like very detailed. But basically he just laid out why he believed that they should be married.
In practical terms.
Yeah, in very practical terms. Yeah. That stunned her completely. She was flustered. She was very taken aback. She didn't know what the hell to say. She was like stuttering over her words. He explained his reasonings for why he believed it would be beneficial for her, and she asked what he was getting out of it. And he told her that she'd been running the estates for the past, 4 years. He trusts her, he knows her well, and he believes that she would never stray. She was just so overwhelmed that she had a hard time even considering the idea, even wrapping it around her mind right now. Wrapping her mind around it.
Wrapping it around her mind.
That's fine. And it felt completely crazy to even consider. She told him she was going upstairs and that they would talk about it more in the morning. But his hand grabbed her arm, urging her to stop. His hand traveled up her arm and across her neck. The only thing she could focus on was his lips. He whispered in a low, sensual, and husky voice, "Don't you want another kiss?" He was like, hold on. "Don't you want another kiss?" No. "Don't you want another kiss?" No.
No, that was the first one was better.
Don't you want another kiss? No. Oh my God. Don't give me an acting career. Just
Anyways,
don't.
what does he say? Don't you want another kiss? There you go. That was perfect.
Don't you want another kiss?
No.
Don't you want another kiss?
Like a goblin.
I sound like Smeagol.
Yeah.
Chapter 17. Yes, this is a verbatim of the letter. "Yes, of course, Francesca is a wonder, but you already knew that, didn't you? From Helen to Michael."
Ooh, she knows.
Now, what is this? Okay. They know. They have to know. Michael realized that the only way to convince Francesca to marry him was with passion. Not emotion, not with practicality, but with good old sexy time.
That's crazy to me.
So crazy.
Right?
She stepped back from him and he asked her again if she wanted another kiss while moving towards her, like seductively, like predatory, I think is the word they use.
Yeah, they do use it a lot.
She hesitated at first, but he was too charming, too seductive. He started with her neck, then her boobs, kissing and licking them. He did ask her if she wanted him to kiss her, and she said yes. This is where they have sex.
For the first time.
For the first time.
Okay.
But it's not her first time.
Right.
So it's a little bit more like forward.
Yeah. In advance.
In advance. Yeah. Advance is a good way to put it. Because he like fingers her while she's sitting on a table, like legs spread. And he's telling her all the ways that he wants to eat her out. And like all the things he wants to do to her. He's basically like, yeah, you remember when you asked me, what is the thing that he says? Oh my God, what's the thing that he says?
I don't know.
Tell me something naughty.
Wicked.
Tell me something wicked.
It's the title.
He said naughty too. He goes, tell me something naughty. Tell me something wicked. He's like, I always left you outside the bedroom door though. Did you always wonder? Did you wonder what I did? Did you wonder what I'm going to do to you now? Like,
dude.
And I was like, no, she probably didn't wonder that when she was with John. This is a terrible thing to say right now. What the fuck is wrong with you? I was like,
it's working on her,
I thought it was going to snap her out of it when she was talking about when they used to have those conversations when John was alive. I was like, this is a terrible thing to say. But no, she's turned on.
Yeah, she wants him.
He does ask her a few times while they're doing all the foreplay and stuff if she wants him to stop. And she's basically like begging him to continue. And after he finishes his dirty talk in her ear while fingering her, he eats her out.
He finishes his dirty talk.
Yeah, he's done dirty talk.
Checked it off the list. Moving on.
Yeah, he's a checklist in his pocket. He pulls it out. And he's like 2 fingers. Check.
Oh my gosh.
The way Colin did with Vanellope.
In the show.
Check. Moving on. Yeah, then he eats her out. And he, again, this is another man who stops eating her out before she finishes because his need is too great, even though he acknowledges he probably should have let her come.
That's so fucking annoying.
Yeah, I know.
It literally probably like 5 more seconds.
It is, seriously. And then he lays her on the carpet and they fuck because he couldn't fuck her on the table. And they were already so horny and like so juiced up from the foreplay that they only lasted like a couple minutes before they both finished. And it was the best sex he ever had because it wasn't just his body, it was his soul.
Jeez.
And this is literally, okay, chapter 18. Literally word for word again. All Michael said to Helen was, absolutely. Moving on.
Wait. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she was like, oh, you already know that Francesca's incredible. Like, didn't you?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to keep up with these letters.
It is. I like will remember kind of in the moment, but then I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'll have to go back. It's a little annoying, but that's okay.
Yeah.
The next morning, Francesca felt the worst guilt imaginable. She hated that she felt something for someone who wasn't John and hated more that it was for Michael, which made it all worse somehow.
For some reason.
Like triple worse is what she said.
Dang.
And like before, when they had kissed, she ran. Not from Kilmartin in Scotland, but she left the house and went for a really long walk to avoid having to face Michael.
She loves hiking.
She loves taking these like 4-hour
4, 6, 8 hour long hikes.
It's crazy. Good
through
for
the
her.
hills of Scotland. Yeah.
She's probably so in shape.
Oh my
It's
God.
crazy.
Her thighs are probably like
To die for. Yeah. An hour into her walk, it began to rain. And she sat under a tree, resigned to wait it out. But after 20 minutes, she knew she was going to have to be there for a while. Like, it wasn't going to stop anytime soon. She was like standing up, and that's when she decided she was just going to sit down. She's like, fuck my dress. Like, whatever. Then Michael found her. He had went out looking for her when she hadn't come back after the rain started.
He always finds her.
Always. He offered to take her home since he had his horse with him, and it would be a much faster journey. Reminder, they're an hour away from the house. With the horse, it'd probably be close to 20 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But Francesca was being too stubborn. She couldn't be with him right now, not after what had happened.
You're going to catch malaria, girl. They don't know how malaria is transmitted. Actually, they think there's the author's note in the book talks a lot about malaria and like how it was perceived in the 1800s and stuff. Is really interesting. I might read it.
Okay, yeah.
So they don't really know how it was conceived, how it was
Okay, that makes sense.
Contracted.
It's weird though, because Michael knew that you couldn't get it from the air,
but
maybe because he had it.
That's interesting because he said he got it from putrid air.
No, he didn't.
That's what Julia Quinn said in the author's note.
Really?
Yeah.
Because remember when Francesca was taking care of him and he was like, don't worry, you can't get it from like me breathing on you.
Right. I don't know. I'll read the author's note at the end.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and we'll see what it is.
Okay, we'll put a pin in that.
All right.
Francesca's being stubborn. She won't go on the horse. He didn't care because the options were that she stay and wait out the rain, which could last hours, and she could catch lung fever and die.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, lung fever.
Lung fever.
Or she could go with him, and it would be a quick 20-minute, trot back to the house. Mm-hmm. He hauled her to her feet and onto the horse without her consent, practically, basically.
He was like, "You're coming with me."
And she complained, but eventually complied, especially since she realized that she was touching him again, sitting in the saddle, and her mind was fighting her body's urges.
Dude, she cannot not think about it.
No, she's like, oh, that dick was too nice.
It's like, maybe I should sit in front.
Maybe she was sitting in front.
Oh, my bad.
Her ass was like
okay
up against him. And
Why would I think she was in the back?
She was like, his arms are wrapped around me and they were under her boobs. And she's like, oh my God, he's practically cradling my boobs right now.
He probably was. He probably straight up was.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The reins are just on the horse's back.
Yeah.
He's not even holding on.
He's not even holding the reins. He's not even touching the reins. Michael. Shortly into the ride, the horse went lame.
And that's why he goes lame.
And what does that mean? Isn't it like a leg thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
He just hurt his leg.
And they realized they weren't going to make it back to the house. Michael suggested the gardener's cottage, and Fran ran there to start a fire while Michael led the horse there a little bit slower. When Michael got there, Francesca was having trouble starting the fire. Michael had to build a shelter for the horse, whose name is Felix, by the way, so it took him longer to get inside. He got to work starting the fire and was very quickly successful. Fran just doesn't know how to start a fire. For a moment, Fran was frightened that he might have an attack because it was so cold. But apparently that's not how you get malaria. Like, that's not how you get an attack.
Attacks don't come on just because it's cold.
Because of a shiver, yeah. And she's like, but then she's like, oh yeah, I'm mad at you. Okay, so if that's not how you get an attack, then fuck you again. I'm mad.
Yeah, if you're not in danger, then I'm still mad. I'm really mad.
Yeah. The cottage is very small, by the way. Like, it's like a one bed. It's like a what do you call those? It's like a one bedroom, but it's all one room. What are those called?
Studio.
It's like a studio.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
That's how I was interpreting it.
Yeah.
Once the flame started up, Michael then went to go take off his clothes to warm up. Fran was not thrilled about that. One bit.
Yes, she was. Come on.
Deep down, but like on the surface, she was like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And told him not to, but he undressed anyways. All the while, he teased her about the sex that they had the night before. He's been teasing her this whole time, by the way, like not even dancing around the subject. I think he brought it up within the first 5 minutes when he was putting her on the horse and she was like, stop. He's like, well, that's not the screams I heard last night. I was like,
he does it all the time. He does it a lot. Michael.
No.
Oh my God, that'd be so embarrassing too.
It would, especially when you're mortified.
Yeah. Okay. So they had sex the night before, right?
Yeah.
And that was her second partner ever.
Yeah.
And so now he's teasing her about it.
Yeah, and like, what if Michael was like a better lover, and she's probably like,
right?
Because I think she did kind of say that for her, Michael was a little bit better of a lover.
Oh, than John. But still, come on.
No, yeah, I get that. Ugh. He grabbed a blanket and covered himself up and sat by the fire. She didn't see him naked, by the way. Like, she turned around and then he put a blanket on.
Oh, good.
So it wasn't like a weird thing. It was kind of a weird thing, but it wasn't like that weird.
Yeah.
He told Francesca that she should undress too, but no way was that happening right now. No way.
It's like, I'm going to sit in my soggy dress.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. But she did take up his offer to come sit by the fire. At one point, he promises not to ravish her that morning. He's like, oh, don't worry. Just come sit by the fire. I'm not going to ravish you this morning or something like that.
Okay.
He then says that she hasn't given him an answer to his proposal. And she says that she will think about it and let him know when she knows if she's with child. Which is really bad. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to bring this up later.
Okay.
We can. I have it in my notes.
Yeah, but they did talk about that here. He's like, you might be pregnant with my kid, and she's like, yeah, I'll let you know when I know if I'm pregnant with your child,
and then we'll marry.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that'll be done.
This makes him super annoyed, but he does hold it in. Then his mood shifts and he tells her there's only 5 minutes until noon and he might as well get to work to seal the deal, aka get her pregnant. She says, you wouldn't.
What?
And he says, you leave me little choice. And she says, why? And he says, because I have to. And he asks her to kiss him twice, and she swayed toward him, and he knew that she was his.
Oh. He's like, I gotta put a baby in you. That's the only way you're gonna marry me.
Yeah.
This is the only thing you're giving me right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Chapter 19. Helen writes to Francesca that she believes Michael will be returning soon, according to her mother's intuition. He didn't say that. It's intuition.
I love that.
As soon as they kiss, her mind was completely enslaved by her body. She doesn't want to stop. He's taking her clothes off and Michael is getting emotional. He scoops her up and carries her to the bed. I don't know in what way. I didn't elaborate on that.
Yeah.
I
love that. He's getting emotional.
Getting emotional up in here. She thinks she can stop this now, here in this moment. Her mind is telling her no, but her body is telling her yeah. Sing it.
You know what?
Sing it.
My mind was telling me no, but my body is telling me yes.
That's Francesca right now. She tells herself that if she gives in to this desire now, then by God, she would do it in every way. If you're going to do the thing, might as well do it right and do it good. This scene is the entire chapter. It's 14 pages, and it was 27 minutes on the audiobook.
I love that.
It
was the best sex scene in the entire series.
Oh, leagues ahead of all the other sex scenes.
Agreed.
She takes charge during the sex scene, dominatrix vibes. She makes him answer her questions out loud. Like she's like taking off her dress and she's like, "Do you want me to take this off?" And he like nods and he's like, "Say it." "Yes, I want you to take it off." She loves the thrill of being in control, which I can't help compare it to Daphne, but with Francesca, she could not have a more willing and present and sober purchase of her.
100%. Yeah. This is the right way to do the whole in control thing.
Yeah. She makes him beg. She praises him when he listens. She tells him what to do every step of the way. She's teasing him, and at one point, he's like, "Enough, Franny." And she says, "You answer to me, Michael. If you want me, you can have me, but I'm in charge." And he like agrees. He's like, "All right." He's like, "Let's go."
He's eating
What
it
next?
up.
Oh my God.
Like, I've never, like, eating it up. He's obsessed with every second of this.
Yeah, and it's a really good scene.
Yeah.
She gets up and starts to play with her own nipples, and it's driving them both wild. And she says out loud, "I didn't know I could do this." And I think she just meant like pleasure herself in that way. Like make herself feel like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then the power shifts to Michael. He starts doing the same thing she was just doing to him, but she doesn't care. She's into it. And it's really long and really detailed, and it's really good. And go read it. It's chapter 19.
The power dynamic shifts from her, and then right when he starts playing with her nipples, it shifts back to him. So then more so he's in charge then. And they both are like, he's in charge
like, that's
now.
fine. Yeah. And she's
and
like,
I think she
he's in
rides
charge.
him, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I
think
that.
so.
I love that for
I think
her.
and she finishes first. Cheers. And
it was so good.
It was really good. And he does spill his seed inside her, which I think is important. She falls asleep and he stays awake holding her, whispering her name and other words as well, is what they said. What do you think he was whispering?
Probably like, "You're like the most beautiful person I've ever seen. Like,
I've loved you for 6 years.
I don't think he said I loved you yet.
Well, she was sleeping. So
she was sleeping. Yeah, honestly, probably. Yeah. Oh. Kill me,
Michael.
Killing me softly with his
fingers.
With his dick.
Jesus. Chapter 20. Michael will do what he wishes. He always does. From Francesca to Helen. Okay, so that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He'll come home if he wants to. The following days gave Francesca no peace. She still doesn't have any strong feelings about whether or not to marry him. She's slept with him twice. She might be pregnant, and in society and in her world, it would be an obvious yes. Yet in her heart, she can't bring herself to say yes quite yet. And she told Michael she's not ready when he said he'd call the Vicar in the morning. And she's like, "Don't do that. Like, I'm not ready." And he just says, "We'll discuss it later." And they ride home together in silence on a new horse that Michael had gotten earlier. He went to the horse stand and traded horses.
He like walked, I think he walked back to the house and then walked back with the horse, or like rode the horse back. That's a long walk.
Do we know? Poor Felix. I feel bad. They probably shot him.
No, don't say that.
They probably did. He might have got mended. I don't know how many veterinarians there were in the area at the time.
Oh my God, no.
You know what I mean? They can't walk.
I didn't even think about it.
What happens? Like, I can't not think about it. Anyways, he's fine. Felix is probably recovered. When they get to Kilmartin,
he's on a farm somewhere.
Yeah, he's lived in a different farm.
He's
apart from Kilmartin. They had to move him.
They had to take him to a different farm. He's okay. He's doing great now.
Yes, he's fine. Felix is fine.
He's by the ocean. He's running across the shore.
Oh,
on top of the water somehow. Like Jesus. I'm so done.
When they get to Kilmartin, he stops Francesca before she can run off and asks, "What is going on with you? Like, will you marry me?" She stutters and eventually says, "I don't know. I need more time." He asks her like 5 times, "Will you marry me?" And she can't. She just says, "I need more time. I need more time." And he says, "Time for what? More time for me to get you pregnant?" He says he'll fuck her over and over if necessary, but she says she, again, needs time to think, to muddle through her feelings. And she does get like, she blushes and like thinks about him doing that to her over and over and over and over. She's like,
Like,
okay, when and where?
because like me too.
And he still doesn't understand. And he says, what is there to think about? And she brings up his past, how rakish she was, and whether or not he would even make a good husband. She tells him he hasn't exactly been the model of Christian rectitude. And he says, and this coming from a woman who ordered me to strip off my clothes this afternoon. And she says, don't be ugly. And he says, don't push my temper.
Woof.
And this is, I wrote, I'm over this. I'm annoyed.
I was a little annoyed too.
Yeah, it just went on and on and on, which is fine. Michael is mad. He is rude to Rivers, his valet. And he thinks about how he thought he knew Francesca well enough that he for sure thought she would marry any man that she slept with twice. And he won't say yes to him.
He won't say yes to him.
And she won't say yes to him.
No, it is seriously.
Is that what I said?
No, you said he won't say yes to
Damn
him.
it.
He won't marry himself. No. No, it is a little annoying, like, because she is so like strict on the rules when she was in London, and then all of a sudden now and every woman has a right to do that, but it is interesting because in that society, like,
yeah. Well, the thing with her, she's just like, she knows what she has to do. She needs to think about it, and she just doesn't want to because it's too hard. He thinks Francesca used him for her own pleasure.
slay.
I mean, slay. Is that not what he does at a brothel though?
Yeah,
kind of.
That's why I said slay.
Slay. He wonders if she was like this with John, and then realizes he forgot about John and thinks about all the things that made him feel guilty again, but it's all getting easier to bear. He thinks John would have wanted Michael to be happy, and happiness is something Michael never thought that could happen to him. Francesca expected Michael to call upon her, but he didn't, and he was apparently giving her time to think, and that's just horrible. That's what she said. That's what she said.
Yeah.
God, that sucks, but also that's what I wanted. She doesn't want to stay in her room or wander the halls. She doesn't want to see Michael, but also definitely wants him to seek her out. So she leaves the house, expecting at every turn to run into him. She was so sure that he was around, but when she calls out for him, there's no response. But he was there watching her from under the staircase, like smiling at her. Said he was smiling.
So fucking creepy.
Said he was smiling.
It did. It was the weirdest.
I gotta imagine he was like crouching under there too. Like he couldn't have just been standing.
I was like so uncomfortable with this scene. My guess, and I'm gonna tell myself this is what happened, is he heard her coming in and then hid under the stairs so that way she would feel like she had space and felt more comfortable. And he was just watching her because he was stuck there. That's what I tell myself. Because if he was like waiting for her under the staircase, that's giving. It's not giving what it's supposed to be giving.
Just the smiling part was just out of. It just didn't fit. It didn't fit.
Probably because he was smiling at how beautiful she is. That's what I'm gonna tell myself.
Aw, okay. Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna tell myself.
She looks good in that dress that she can walk in.
Yeah, even though I'm mad at her, like, damn, she's beautiful.
She put on a really
what I'm
good
gonna tell myself.
walking dress because Francesca wandered her outside for 6 or 7 hours, but had to go warm up and eat eventually. So she comes home. Michael catches her right away and asks her to join him in the library. And she's confused as to why he would want to talk in the library. The library's not sexy.
She wanted him.
Yeah, and he's offering tea and biscuits, and she doesn't know how to feel about this odd behavior. He had a pot of tea refilled every 10 minutes so she could have hot tea whenever she happened to return. How many hours he was doing that? That's insane.
That's so cute, though. I'm
actually
obsessed.
That was a really good
So
gesture. Cute. He eventually tells her he has something for her, and she thinks, not a ring, not a ring. Oh, please, I'm not ready to say yes. But it's a bouquet of flowers, and that's still confusing for her. And he's like, well, I'm courting you. Of course I'm going to give you flowers. She didn't expect flowers. She literally expected him to try to get her pregnant again. When he catches what she's throwing, he catches on to that. He says he would like to do that still, but I thought you deserved more than that. But she doesn't think she does. She is just feeling very turned on. She literally just wants to fuck him in this moment. She tells him she needs to leave, and he could tell she's in the mood, and he teases her and tells her she can go. I'll give you a farewell kiss on the hand, though, because recording, right? But she can't bring herself to leave, though, and then I guess they fucked in the library.
Yeah, no, they definitely did.
Off screen, off camera, off page, I mean.
Off screen. Yeah, off camera.
Off page.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Right, come on.
Yeah, give it to us.
On,
give us another 14 pager.
Julia. Chapter 21. The letter is just Francesca letting Violet know she arrived in Scotland safely and she's happy for the peace and quiet. 3 weeks later, Francesca still doesn't know what she's doing. 3 weeks. Oh my God, where's Colin when you need him?
I know, and they've been fucking every night.
Oh my God. She just didn't want to think through all the emotions involved with saying yes. She's waiting to get pregnant, so the decision will be made for her, it feels like. Actually, I didn't really know how to interpret these.
See, this feels selfish.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't either.
She could tell Michael was growing impatient, but he was hiding it well. He never denied her his body, and when he did fuck her, it was with renewed urgency and even a touch of anger.
Woof.
Which maybe she liked that. Maybe she liked that.
Yeah.
She's like, I gotta keep this kink going. It feels like she doesn't want to say yes because she's afraid the passion between them and even the pillow talk, which she loves, will be gone afterward? Question mark, question mark? I'm not really sure.
Or it'll get way better because we'll be married.
Right, come on.
What are you talking about?
When her cycle comes, she cries, but not like bawling, racking with sobs. She just cried a little bit, a couple of tears. Was it because it means no baby or because it means no marriage? And I don't know. It's just really confusing for me.
I feel confused too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Write in. Tell us what the fuck Francesca's thinking.
Because I don't know either.
Anyway, Michael tries to seduce her, blood or no blood, but she refuses him. A few days later, he asks if her cycle is done and seduces her again, and he goes down on her, and when he stops to get his dick out, she says, "Stop, I can't do this." She says she doesn't know who she is any longer. She's not this sort of woman. He did offer to marry her and make her a respectable woman. Like Francesca was like, after the second time I asked you to marry me.
After like before the first time I asked you to marry me.
Yeah, and to make you a respectable woman, but she refused, and she doesn't deny that.
Yeah.
But she is struggling with her feelings for Michael. She wasn't supposed to feel passion again with another man. Michael thinks she hates him and asks why she stays. He tells her he doesn't even know who she is anymore, and he's angry, and I'm on his side. And I think we both are. Yeah. She said, it's not you, it's me. And he laughs at that because it's a line that he's used many, many, many times, I'm sure. He asks again, why do you stay? There's nothing here but this. And then he like grabs her by the shoulders and kisses her angrily, desperately. And she does want him still. He asks again. He asks so many times, why do you stay? And she can't answer. So he tells her to leave. Leave the house. If you can't be with me, if you can't give me everything, then go. And he's tired of this halfway existence. And she asked why. Like, hello, he's been telling you nonstop.
Yeah, what the fuck?
And he says, why? He says, quote, why? It's because I love you. Damn me to hell. Because I've always loved you. Because I loved you when you were with John. And I loved you when I was in India. And God only knows I don't deserve you, but I love you anyway. And he starts to say more, but she stops him and says, stop. And he's like, but why? Not when I'm just getting started. But he does deflate and asks her to go again. He says, go. If this is the end, you'll have to do it because I'm not strong enough to say goodbye. And then she runs away again. She runs outside in the rain, in the dark, and sits at a gazebo John built for her many years ago. He built her a gazebo because like she was prone to hiking before that. And he's like, well, maybe you'll have somewhere to sit and you won't go hiking.
Yeah.
That was really nice. But she sits for hours wondering what it even was she was running from. Meanwhile, Michael is in a rage. He punches a wall and he sent poor Rivers, running. Rivers was just like, do you need a Band-Aid?
Yeah, okay, but Rivers was being very butlery in this moment. Like, he wasn't reading the room. He was not, like, at all, like, understanding his surroundings. And he was just, like, pressing. Michael's like, get the fuck out.
He's like, here, take this Band-Aid.
Yeah.
For your knuckles. He's like, I'm not in the mood.
Let me wrap that. Do you need some ice, honey? Do you need anything?
I want to be alone.
I can give you a little massage. Get out.
It was hilarious.
Okay.
Michael has been holding these feelings in for 6 years, and she basically sliced his heart open, cut it into pieces, threw it on the ground, stomped on it, and set it on fire with her reaction.
Oh my God.
That's what he said. All of those things. He says he would give both his feet to not feel this way anymore. Like, chop my feet off, please. It'd be better than this. He doesn't know what the rest of his life will look like now that she knows. Keeping his feelings from Francesca was his personality for 6 years.
It was his whole personality.
It was. Francesca knocks on his door 3 hours later and tells him, I'll marry you if you'll still have me. She expected him to have a joyful response and to make love to her, but he just warily asks, why? She says, I don't know. Don't make me figure it out right now, at least. He makes sure she understands there will be no backing out, no take backsies, no cold feet, no changed minds. And she promises.
Period.
I get it. Like I'm doing this thing. And he starts to believe now because she doesn't go back on promises. And he says, you'll be mine. Do you understand? Quote, if I want to tie you to the bed and keep you there until you're heavy with child, I'll do it. And you won't complain and you'll like it. And she says like yes to all of that. Then he pounced on her like a wild animal, which she seemed to want, to be fair. And he said, you will be mine, mine. And then, quote, and she was. For that night, at least, she was. I don't get that either.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Like, she's still not, like, fully in.
No.
She still hasn't given him everything. Mm-mm. That's what it feels like to me.
I agree. But this is how I felt, like, when Eloise and Philip. And then this is how I felt. Like, I didn't feel this way with, a little bit with Anthony and Kate. Like, Anthony didn't give Kate his everything.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. It took him a long time. He's like, shit, I can love Kate?
Shit.
After that weird-ass story about her mom?
Oh, my God. She's over thunderstorms now? After one therapy drama.
She's over it.
Crazy. Chapter 22. Quote, I am sure you have everything well in hand. You always do. And this is from Violet to Francesca. Immediately upon the recipient of Francesca's missive, I'm assuming when she came to kill Martin in Scotland.
Oh, yeah. She's like, your sheep are sick? Oh, no. She sent that to Helen and Jenna.
Yeah, I don't know what this is from. Whatever. Moving on. Doesn't matter. The most difficult part of wedding planning was figuring out how to tell people. She was worried what people might think, but she knew she wanted to marry Michael.
Oh.
Though she wasn't quite sure why she had changed her mind. Oh. Yeah. She was sitting at her desk attempting to write her family of the news when Michael came in with a letter from her mother. The letter informed Francesca that Colin and Penelope moved up their wedding day and had already gotten married, and Eloise was engaged to a man she just met.
Damn, what a bummer for her to miss out on all that.
Yeah, she wasn't thrilled to be missing two siblings' weddings and was rather frustrated that she wasn't informed sooner.
She'd been having too much sex.
Yeah, well, she also ran off to Scotland. Like, she would have been a part of all of this if she hadn't, like, impromptu ran off to Scotland because she kissed Michael.
Yeah, and if she would have made a decision earlier, because she had been sitting on it for 3 weeks at this point.
Oh, my God, so facts. Yeah.
Yeah, she would have made a decision. She could have been back.
Oh, my God, that is so true.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so honestly, it's her fault. He then proposed that they get married that day. In Scotland, they don't need bands, so it was definitely possible. I don't know what a band is.
Like wedding band?
No, like bands as in like, I guess you have to like apply to get married in England, but in Scotland, you don't need those bands. So you can basically have like not a shotgun wedding, like a Vegas impromptu wedding.
Yeah, just do it faster.
Yeah, exactly. She was hesitant at first. He told her to give their child a respectable 9 months of gestation.
What?
Yeah. She wasn't pregnant. That's just what he was saying. He was like, come on, honey. Like, let's give our child a respectable 9 months of gestation. And she told him that she may not be able to conceive. It took her a long time with John, and that hadn't ended up the way that she wanted it to. He told her he didn't care if she was barren or if she delivered a litter of puppies. She was his, and that was all that mattered. After a bit more back and forth, Fran agreed to marry him that day.
I thought like right now, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
She told him, though, that there would be no other women.
It's like, Eloise, Penelope, I'm missing your wedding, you're missing mine.
You're missing mine, bitch. She told him, though, that there would be no other women, and he said that those other women were only there to get her out of his mind.
Damn.
Then they left and got married. Later that night, Michael was sitting in his room quietly thanking Colin for suggesting him and Fran marry, and also thanking John for releasing him of his guilt.
Oh.
He realized after the cottage that John would have approved of this union between the two of them, and he felt so much better.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Just like convinced himself of that.
He's like, you know what? John would have loved this.
I'm sure of it.
I'm sure of it right now. Seriously.
No, this is for sure like what he wanted.
I actually kind of do think that he would approve. Like, John seemed like a stand-up guy.
I do think so too, but also Michael's just using it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
To alleviate his guilt.
Oh,
which is fine.
Sure. Yeah,
do it. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do.
Facts. Tonight was their wedding night, and he was, for the first time, staying in the Earl's chamber with connecting door to Francesca's room.
Ooh.
I know. They had been sneaking into each other's rooms every night, and he knew the servants knew that because they weren't fucking stupid.
So, like, what is the point of sneaking?
I don't know. Like, they talked about that, like, maintaining... I don't know, actually. They were like, well, they would have gossiped, but also they definitely knew that we were sneaking into each other's room. So this is also fucking stupid.
Well, I guess it's more acceptable to be sneaking, because if you're doing it openly, they'd be like, oh my God.
They're doing it openly.
Yeah,
but also, they're still doing it. Like, I don't really...
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's those nuances in the 1800s that we'll never be able to grasp.
Not ever, yeah. He was ready for their wedding night activities, but he was thinking it would have been better if Francesca had told him that she loved him. He told himself it was okay if she never loved him. She was his and she cared for him, but it did weigh on him a little bit. Michael entered her room and the atmosphere as the reader, like as I'm reading this, feels different. She tells him she is very glad that she married him and they have sex and it's very intimate. It's very emotional. It's very passionate. Mm-hmm. At the end, he's laying on top of her and he goes to move and she tells him to wait. She likes having him cuddle on top of her. When he moved and then drifted off to sleep, she acknowledges that something was different about tonight, but she doesn't know what.
She loves him. She's like, lay on me until I can't breathe anymore.
Yeah, she's like, I actually don't mind. Chapter 23. Francesca writes to Helen to tell her that her and Michael have married. Michael and Francesca are sitting at their breakfast table and Michael is sick. She insists that he go lay down, but he keeps telling her that he's fine. I'm fine. She is worried that it's malaria, which would be concerning since his last attack was only 2 months ago.
I'm going to die soon.
Yeah, like that means that they would be getting closer and closer together, which would mean death for sure. He keeps telling her it's not malaria, but she's not so sure. Finally, he agrees to go to bed. 10 hours later, Michael is in the midst of a terrible fever.
Oh, no.
Francesca is trying to do everything she can to help him, but there's only so much that she can do. Fran is getting increasingly worried because, again, she is not sure if it's a malaria or not. Michael keeps trying to reassure her that it's not, but her anxiety becomes too much.
And he don't know.
Yeah, no, sure. He doesn't. I think he's trying to convince himself too. And she asks Michael if he'd be okay if she left for a little bit. Francesca found her way to that gazebo that John built and started to sob.
Oh, my new husband's gonna die again.
I'm just picturing. Holy fuck, Aaron!
Why? Love Island. Join our live to know what the fuck we're talking about.
She realized she was so upset because she was in love with Michael and he might die.
Damn it. Two husbands.
That's why things had been so different on their wedding night. She looked up to the heavens, attempting to demand Michael not be taken from her because she couldn't go through the loss of another man she loved.
Damn, dude.
Okay, now we're back to Michael.
Damn.
When Michael woke up, it was the next morning. Francesca was by his bed and gave him some water and some broth. She did check to see if he had a fever, and he did!
Which is good. Because malaria always breaks.
Which meant it's not malaria.
Which means it could be pneumonia. It could be something worse.
Or lung fever.
But they're so happy. They're so happy.
I didn't even think about that.
Could be something worse. We don't know.
It could be what Marina had. I don't know.
Melancholy? Oh, she had pneumonia.
Yeah. I need a space. And he's
R.I.P. Marina.
R.I.P. That was so not swag when she died.
Not swag?
She did not YOLO.
Oh no. She's skipping.
Fuck Marina. Oh my god.
This is like a really sad time in the book. It's a really down bummer moments. But they're happy about the malaria.
I'm super happy for them, honestly. Both Michael and Fran were extremely relieved because as much as Michael tried to reassure Fran, he wasn't so sure it wasn't malaria. Fran started to tell Michael that she loved him, but stopped herself and told him she needed to go, but she would be back really soon.
I need to go.
Well, actually, hold on for a moment. Okay? I'll be back really soon. Chapter 24. Francesca writes a letter to Janet to tell her that she has married Michael. 15 minutes later, Michael was feeling better. He was able to get up, wipe himself off with a washcloth, and put on a dressing gown. He wasn't strong enough to take a bath, so that was like his makeshift bath.
Oh, okay. Just wiping himself down.
Wiping it down with a washcloth. He went to lay back down, but his bed was still super damp, so he rang for someone to change his sheets and sat on the chair next to his bed. He noticed through the window that Francesca was like running around outside.
What? It's like doing laps around the house.
Getting her sprints in. When his butler came in, he asked what she was doing. And the butler was giving very butlery responses, but he said that she was getting some peonies. And that's all he needed to know. He knew that she was going to John's grave. Oh. Because John's favorite flower was peonies. Oh. He got worried that she was starting to be racked with the same guilt that he had been going through all these years. Yeah. So he got up really quick to go to her.
Yes, she should have talked about this way earlier.
Way so sooner. When he was confessing everything, probably. Mm-hmm. Francesca, back to Franny. Francesca was at John's grave laying the peonies down for him. She spoke to him and told him that she had fallen in love with Michael and that she knew that he would approve of the two of them together after his death. It was a very sweet and sentimental moment. While she was speaking with John, Michael hobbled up to her.
Why is he limping?
Well, like, I don't think he's limping. He's just
can't
like,
breathe fully.
Yeah, he's just like struggling because he's sick.
Okay.
I don't know another word for hobble. Like, I'm not a dictionary.
I get it.
I'm not a almanac.
It doesn't necessarily mean lipping. My bad.
Drink some more. I need you to, because we need to be on the same level.
I'm trying.
He had heard everything that she had said, and he told her he loved her, and she confessed her love for him. They embraced.
They're embarrassed.
They were embarrassed
about loving each other in front of John's grave.
I felt a little embarrassed. They embraced, and she told him that they should go home. She was going to plan a big romantic gesture to tell him that she loved him, but he said he didn't need that. He only needed ... But she cut him off, and she said, I know. I need the same thing.
What, sex?
Each other.
Oh. I mean, like, their whole relationship is based on sex.
They had a friendship before. The sex came later. Okay, here we go. Epilogue. My dear nephew. Although Helen insists that she was not surprised at the announcement of your marriage to Francesca, I shall own up to the less clever imagination and confess that to me it came as a complete shock. I implore you, however, not to confuse shock with lack of acceptance. It did not require much time or thought to realize that you and Francesca are an ideal match. I don't know how I did not see it before. I do not profess to understand metaphysics, and in truth, I rarely have patience for those who claim they do. But there are an understanding between the two of you, a meeting of the minds and souls that exists on a higher plane. You were, it is clear, born for each other. These are not easy words for me to write. John still lives on in my heart, and I feel his presence every day. I mourn my son. I shall always do so. I cannot tell you what comfort it gives me to know that you and Francesca feel the same. I hope you will not think me self-important when I offer you my blessing, and I hope you will not think me foolish when I also extend my thanks. Thank you, Michael, for letting my son love her first. And that's from Janet to Michael.
So John's mother.
Yeah.
To Michael. That was a really sweet epilogue.
Yeah. I had to just read it word for word.
Yeah, it was too good. And it was like a paragraph.
It was very short.
Okay, before we get into the second epilogue,
Okay.
let me read the author's note. Dear reader, I have subjected the characters of When He Was Wicked to more than their fair share of medical misfortune. Researching the conditions of both John and Michael was complicated. I had to make sure that their disease processes made scientific sense while at the same time revealing only what was known by medical science in 1824 England. I just thought it was really interesting. They do talk about John's ruptured cerebral aneurysm, which is what he had. Cerebral aneurysms are congenital weak spots in the walls of blood vessels within the brain. They may lie dormant for many years, or they may rupture, and they may rapidly enlarge and then rupture, leading to bleeding in the brain, which can be followed by unconsciousness, coma, and death. Headaches brought on by ruptured cerebral aneurysms are sudden and explosive, but can be preceded by a lingering headache for some time prior to the actual rupture. Nothing could have been done to save him. Even today, approximately 1/2 of ruptured cerebral aneurysms lead to death. During the 19th century, the only way to make a definitive diagnosis of a ruptured cerebral aneurysm was at autopsy. It is extremely unlikely, however, that an earl would have undergone a post-mortem dissection. Therefore, John's death would have remained a mystery to those who loved him. All Francesca would ever know was that her husband had a headache, laid down, and died.
That's so sad.
That is really sad. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. As for malaria, it is an ancient disease. Throughout recorded history, it has been observed that exposure to warm, moist, humid air is associated with periodic fevers, weakness, anemia, kidney failure, coma, and death. The name of the disease comes from the Italian for, quote, bad air, and reflects the belief of our ancestors that the air itself was to blame. In When He Was Wicked, Michael cites putrid air as the source of his illness.
No shit, I don't even remember
Me
that.
either. Today we understand that malaria is in fact a parasitic disease. The hot, swampy conditions themselves are not to blame, but rather serve as a breeding ground for the mosquitoes of the genus Anopheles, the vector of the infection. So there are like 3 different types of malaria. There are 4 species of the Plasmodium that can infect people. I'm not going to read them. They're super scientific. Once in the bloodstream, these microorganisms are swept into the liver where they multiply at a furious pace. Within a week, tens of thousands of parasites are released back into the bloodstream where they infect red blood cells and feed upon the oxygen-carrying hemoglobin inside. Every 2 or 3 days, through a synchronized process that is poorly understood, the offspring of these parasites erupt from the red blood cells, leading to high fevers and violent chills. In the case of falciparum malaria, the infected cells can become sticky and glom on the inside of blood vessels in the kidney and brain, leading to renal failure and coma and death if treatment is delayed. Michael was fortunate. He did not know it, but he had suffered from vivax malaria, which can persist in patients' livers for decades, but rarely kill its victims. So he was never going to die.
Oh, that's good.
He was going to be fine. The exhaustion and fevers caused by vivax malaria, however, are severe. So yeah, by the end of the book, Michael and Francesca worry that higher frequency of attacks might indicate that he was losing his battle with the disease. In truth, with vivax malaria, this would not have mattered. There is a little rhyme or reason to when a vivax patient might suffer an episode of malaria fevers. In fact, some patients experience a complete cessation of fevers and remain healthy for the rest of their lives. So I'd like to think that Michael was one of the lucky ones. But even if not, there is no reason to think that he did not live to a ripe old age.
Aww.
That's so nice. And then they talk more about malaria and et cetera, et cetera.
Good for him.
Yeah.
For catching the good one, I suppose.
The turning point in the treatment for cerebral aneurysms came with the widespread use of angiography in the 1950s. This technique, which consists of the injection of radio-opaque dye into the vessels feeding the brain to give an X-ray picture of the vascular anatomy, was developed by someone named Egas Moniz in Portugal in 1927. He won the Nobel Prize for medicine in 1949, but not for his work in the groundbreaking and life-saving field of angiography, but he was honored for his discovery of the frontal lobotomy as a treatment for psychiatric illness. Isn't that crazy?
And those are like
not good.
You can't do that.
No, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for psychiatric illness. That's what they awarded him for, even though he made this angiography, which actually helps people.
But his other thing is like
torture,
significantly
like a torture device.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
People use that for so long too. Like that only just got like outlawed like not that long ago.
Oh my God, we need to do
Lobotomies?
like an episode on lobotomies. I need to find a book.
I feel like they were still doing that like in like the 80s.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
I could be wrong. Please
I don't
don't
know.
quote me on that.
I
But
don't
like
know.
that
Let us
wasn't
know.
that long ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's fucking crazy. So that author's note was really interesting. She did her research.
Okay,
I'll give it to you, Julia.
Now I'm gonna Google when they stopped doing lobotomies.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Oh. It's like not. Okay, that's a lie. It says that the last recorded lobotomy in the United States was performed by Walter Freeman in 1967 and ended in the death of the person whom it was performed. So it was like a long time ago. But it was used throughout, like into the 1980s in like, okay, so they persisted into the 1970s in the rest of Europe and into the 1980s in Scandinavia. So it like was used around the world until up until like the 1980s.
Yeah, and
in other countries.
So yeah, and he won the Nobel Prize in 1949 for it. So that's 30 years that happened.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
That's crazy because in Europe, the Soviet Union banned lobotomies in 1950s. In 1950. A year after the guy
like, wait a second, this actually is not good.
Yeah,
we're not doing this.
The Soviet Union like almost immediately realizes it was like not a good
Oh my
technique.
God.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I love how we give history lessons in this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wow, that's insane. Okay. Epilogue 2.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Epilogue 2. It had been 3 years since Francesca and Michael had married, and Francesca had been counting days to track her ovulation. She was having a very, very difficult time because all she wanted was a baby, and they hadn't been able to conceive yet. She loved her life, and she loved Michael, but there was a hole in her heart that only having a child could fill, and it made her cry every single night.
Oh my God.
Michael was also struggling. Through the years, he had grown to yearn for a child as well. He also struggled with how much Francesca struggled, and it made them both terribly sad.
Dang.
A year and a half later, Fran was at Aubrey Hall to celebrate the christening of Hyacinth's new daughter. Her mother came to greet her and was hesitant to tell her that Eloise and Lucy were also pregnant.
Lucy? Oh, Gregory's,
yeah.
wife. Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. This opened up a conversation between her mother and Fran for the first time, by the way, where they talked about how she was feeling and also dealing with her struggles of getting pregnant.
Aww.
Surprisingly to Francesca, this conversation made her feel at peace and much better than she had before.
She should have talked to her so much sooner.
Violet. I think she felt like guilty and like, I think they talked about it a little bit. She just felt like it was her fault, and like those sorts of things can be hard to kind of discuss.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a ton about miscarriages, but I like conception can be tough. Yeah. You know. She felt bad that her mother felt so hesitant to tell her about her sister and her sister-in-law being pregnant, and she told her, Francesca told her mother, "Promise me," she said. "You have to promise me that you will always be more happy than you are sorry." Because it made Francesca sad that her mother was so sorry for Francesca that she felt like she had to mask her happiness of having more grandkids.
I'm still happy.
Yeah. Oh, that made me want to cry. Because I can't lie, like, you know, like sometimes it is hard, like when you're trying to conceive and you see so many people around you conceiving, like it can be so hard. I can't imagine it being like kind of your family members, like when you have 8 siblings and everyone is just so easily like
getting pregnant,
conceiving, and you're kind of having to be around it constantly and consistently and struggling with like the feelings of, I don't know, like, I guess, I don't know if she's feeling jealousy. Like, I'd feel a little bit of jealousy, not in a way that's like ugly, but just like, damn, like I wish that it was like this for me, and you know, yada, yada, yada. But it's got to be a hard place that she's in. I can't imagine. I can kind of, but Michael arrived 2 days later, and when he got there, Charlotte, Antony's daughter, and Michael had a very cute interaction because Charlotte absolutely adores him. They were like dancing and playing, and he was like throwing her up in the air. It was really cute.
Funko Michael.
Funko. Then Charlotte goes inside, and Francesca and Michael go into the woods, and they have sex.
So close to the house, Michael.
So close to the house.
Do it.
They like go kind of deep into the woods though, and she like gets on top, and it's like very. It's supposed to show that she has like a renewed outlook on life, and that she's kind of more optimistic about her future, and that she's kind of accepted her
barren womb.
Yeah, the possibility that she might never be a mother and all those sorts of things. And I think Michael's kind of like happy. Like I think his biggest source of sadness is the fact that she's showing such a source of sadness. Yeah. So I think it makes him feel better too. They end up staying at Aubrey Hall for 3 weeks when they were only supposed to stay there for like 2 days.
Oops.
Eloise and Francesca have a conversation while they're watching over like 5 of the children play around like some game, random game.
And probably.
No, it was like some tackle game where they're throwing a ball, like kind of maybe football. I kind of picture football.
You just described football.
Or maybe soccer, maybe like European football or I don't
rugby.
Know. Something. It's just it's supposed to be kind of physical. Yeah. Basically, Francesca asks Eloise if the love she has for Amanda and Oliver are different than the love that she has for Penelope, her daughter. And Eloise basically says like, no, it's not. I'm obsessed with all my children. She's like, I thought it would be, but once I had Penelope, like I realized that it was all the same.
Penelope Featherington, Bridgerton.
Welcome to the world.
That was so funny.
Penelope Featherington.
Bridgerton Crane.
Penelope Featherington, Portia Bridgerton Crane. Crane.
Portia.
Later, Michael and Eloise decided it's probably time to head home while they're sitting in their room on their bed. While talking about going home and missing home, they realize, wait, when was the last time that Francesca had a period? She's pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
I know. They decide to keep it a secret, and 1 year later, when they go to see Violet in London, they get out of the carriage and introduce their son to Violet, and his name is John.
Oh, they named him John.
I know. I was actually kind of sobbing. Also,
I didn't hear any of this. I did not finish the epilogue. No, the second epilogue.
Oh, okay. Well, then, by the way, Kate also had a baby. Aww. Like before Violet came out, she was sitting at I think she was at the Bridgerton house, and Kate was sitting there with her brand new baby that was probably the same age, and they're like, "Oh, the baby," and yeah.
Aww.
And so Violet was holding John, and she was like cooing John, and John was Michael was messing with Francesca and was like, oh, hey, like, I want to go make another one. And Violet's like, go listen to your husband. I'll take the baby.
That would be fine.
Yeah. And then 9 months later, they gave birth to their daughter, Janet Helen Sterling.
So they had 2 right off the back to back?
Back to back.
Okay.
John Sterling and then Janet Helen Sterling.
Oh, that's so sweet. After their mothers.
I know. And that's it. That's it.
Okay. So my issue with this that was unintentional. It's unintentional. My issue with the second epilogue is that I feel like she wrote those after the entire series was complete.
No, I agree. This is my big problem with like when people are like, oh, her infertility is a big part of her story. I disagree. This was written. I don't know when these were written, like way after all of the stories were written. And this like... We had no idea in their book whether or not Francesca truly had infertility issues. Honestly and truly, it could have been John. That was like
yeah.
And miscarriages, that's not like due to women's infertility. Like miscarriages happen so often. Like
they're very common. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's an indication of someone being. I
was kind of like skimming through it earlier, and wasn't there a part where John was like, you have to be careful, and she's like, this one's gonna stick. I like something that was very crude, but Michael said that.
Yeah,
sorry, yeah, Michael.
yeah, and she just knew that this one was gonna stick.
Yeah, and he's like, you have to be careful. She's like, it's gonna be fine, but it was like kind of like, I guess they don't know what really causes a miscarriage.
No, I mean, anything could cause a miscarriage.
Right,
that's the thing. Like, you could do everything right and it could cause a miscarriage.
She's like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be good.
I mean, women do everything. There are women that do everything wrong in a pregnancy and still end up having a child.
Yeah.
Like, we watch those shows. Have you ever watched the show like I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant?
No, but I have heard of it. I've heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that like I don't get when people say like this is the whole point of her story, because I kind of disagree. Like this is the second epilogue, and like anything could have happened
afterwards.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
This wasn't the whole focus of her story.
No.
And listen, it was a very powerful part of her story,
of her personal story. Yeah.
I think a lot of women go through fertility issues. I know I am, and like I know that other women do, and so like I definitely identify with it a little bit. I say that though, but I do have a child. It's
yeah, you just
I can't complain too much, but yeah,
I mean it's all valid. It's all valid. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about her tacking on just like, oh, she ended up having 2 kids after in the second epilogue. I just tacked that on. Yeah, I don't know. I've never even tried to get pregnant, so I really can't offer too big of an opinion. But
I think the optimist in me is really happy because being surrounded by her siblings that conceive so unbelievably easily and are constantly and consistently like having children. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it would be when you're like, that's all you want and you can't have it. Yeah. So the optimist in me is like, thank goodness. Like, I'm so glad that she was able to have this for herself. Yeah. Because it's not like they have options really of like adopting or any other options to help her. So
right.
I don't mind it.
Just kind of gotta, whatever happens.
I don't mind it. I think I just don't understand why they introduced the infertility during the second epilogue. Yeah. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like, why would they bring this other issue?
I don't know. I just feel like I can't explain it. Like, the book ended with her being unable to conceive. And then later on, she decided to write a second epilogue with her having 2 children. And so she's just like this extra happy ending, which is good. I love a happy ending, but it's like maybe not realistic for a lot of people.
Sure.
Maybe, but I don't know.
I think it's
not that deep.
I think it's kind of crazy though, because we didn't even know she would have trouble conceiving when she married Michael. Like, that wasn't at all a theme in the actual book.
It wasn't a huge theme, but she did mention it took 2 years to conceive her first child that she miscarried with.
Sure, but that's not abnormal.
And it was just like, and it was just in her head. She's like, oh, I've had trouble conceiving, but we really didn't know the extent of it.
Sure. I just think that that's like not abnormal, because I think like the percentage, like even if you even if you have sex when you're ovulating, and like obviously everything happens the way it should, like you have sex when you're ovulating, man, like does his business in you. There's only a 33% chance at that point to get pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
So, and that's if you have sex at the perfect time. And there's only like a 2-hour window when you're like truly ovulating for that to happen, and that's like the best chances that you have to get pregnant. Anything outside of that, like it does kind of like get lower as you like before it ramps up and then it ramps down. So there's still chances before and after, but you're only ovulating for 2 hours out of an entire month. And then, the percentage goes down is going up and then down before and after. So, and at the peak, you have a 33% chance. Wow. So truly, it's like, it's very difficult to get pregnant, even if you are the perfect candidate and you're having sex constantly and consistently. Yeah. Like, getting pregnant is a very difficult thing. So I think it honestly makes more sense, like, that she had trouble after 2 years of getting pregnant, because that seems more realistic than having all the other Bridgerton kids who are just popping out children left and right.
Child after child.
Because it's not an easy thing to get pregnant in the first place.
That's wild.
So I do think that that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I don't actually think that that's that big of a deal that she didn't conceive immediately with John, because there's so many factors like that. It's very hard, and he could have had low swimmers. It didn't have to just be because of her.
Right,
and all these different factors. So I thought, oh, maybe with Michael, it will be a little easier because of who knows. And it wasn't, but I'm not mad.
Wait, how long was the second epilogue after the end of the book?
So she didn't end up getting pregnant until about
3 years.
So it's 3 years, and then that was when it first started, but then a year and a half after that.
4.5 years.
So probably, close to 4.5 years.
So, I mean, she was married to John for 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
So 6 years, when you think about it like that.
6 years.
Well, she conceived with John, but she had a miscarriage. But then, I mean, she was to have pretty consistent sex after that. And she didn't conceive again for another 4.5 years. So pretty much, I guess 4.5 years.
Yeah.
We can say.
Yeah. And that's definitely like probably a little bit of a long time for sure.
But not completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Oh, let's get into the finishing. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was a long discussion. That was a good discussion though.
I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your quote of the week?
Oh, shut up. It is, "For the rest of my life," he vowed, "I will love you. For the rest of my life, I promise you, I will lay down my life for you. I will honor you and cherish you. I will." He was choking on the words, but he didn't care. He wanted to tell her. He just wanted her to know.
When was that?
When they were both at John's grave.
Oh, that scene.
Yeah.
Anytime they spend time at a grave. Mine was from Janet to Michael. "And I hope you will not think me foolish when I also extend my thanks. Thank you, Michael, for letting my son love her first."
Yeah, that honestly had me kind of sobbing.
Oh, so sweet. Janet's wonderful. I bet she's just as wonderful as Violet.
Oh yeah, she kind of, and so is Helen. Like I kind of
they really are.
with Helen.
Yeah. I brought a second one down that said, "Nothing had the power to irritate like the reflection of one's own behavior in someone else." And I was thinking, like, why am I getting so irritated at Francesca for not being able to make a decision? I'm like, is that a reflection of me? Is that why I'm like so irritated? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't feel like you're like Francesca, but maybe.
I don't know. I'll have to dig deeper.
I feel like you're a lot more aware of people's like feelings than Francesca. I love me some Franny, but sometimes that girl.
That was funny. All right, who would you be?
Honestly, I'd kind of hope to be Franny. She
did have a good in the end, didn't she?
She had it good in the end. I mean, honestly, the fertility issues were rough, and like I feel for her so bad. Like that honestly sucked. But her relationship with Michael and kind of the way that she was able to have the space to make her decision was kind of nice. And the sex that she had was
elevated,
top tier. Yeah,
so good. Go read it. Good. Chapter 19. I picked Janet. I wanted to be far removed from this book. I don't know why. I did all this like 5 hours ago.
There was like a lot of tragedy.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I like couldn't handle too. Like you can't have a character like Francesca who's been through the worst things that anyone has been through in any of these books and then also not give her the one thing that she wants. Like
man, that's messed up.
I couldn't handle it if she wouldn't have at least had one child.
Oh.
But yeah, I agree. I get that.
Who would you want to be?
That's who I wanted to be.
Francesca?
Wait, who would I would be?
Who would you be? Francesca.
Who would I want to be?
Francesca.
Yeah, Francesca.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. I think I answered those backwards.
It was the same though. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would be like Rivers, but I think I would want to be.
Just barging in.
I definitely would. Yeah, I definitely would be Rivers. I definitely would want to be Francesca. Okay. I answered those backwards.
Okay. I thought they were the same for once, but it's not. Okay.
No.
Oh. I picked who I would want to be as Penelope.
I love that.
She's just off the page.
She's off the page. She's living her best life, except for the blackmail thing. But like, honestly, get it, girl.
Yeah, it all worked out in the end. It's okay. Who was your favorite character in the whole book?
Michael.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like he was really complex, but like we were there. I was with him the whole time. I was there. I understood it.
I think all of his like emotions were so valid, and I think he handled himself probably the best out of all the men.
Yeah, like he could have killed those men for saying those things about Francesca, and everyone would have been like,
I would have.
Yeah.
Say the word. Word,
bitch.
Word. Kill him. Kill him. Slay.
We need somebody like a Valley Girl from like 2005 as the love interest in 1820s.
Oh my God. I'm
Write
obsessed. Kill him. Oh my God. Please.
Word.
Vibes.
That'd be so funny.
This is like not vibes.
Write it. Somebody please write it. It's so funny. All right. What do you rate this? 1 to 5 stars.
Oh, this is like probably the best one. I'd say like a 3.5. What?
Not a great rating, but I was gonna pick 3 and it didn't feel good, so I put 2.5 and that feels good.
Yeah, well, okay, I have to be realistic. Like anything compared to the other Bridgerton books are gonna feel better. But like if I compare this to like the other books that we read, Circe, Verity, ACOTAR, like they're not as good as those books.
Right.
Maybe Verity, but Circe, ACOTAR.
Verity is just
Verity's
out of
good.
here.
It's just like
out
a
of
lot.
this world.
It's just like aggressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just would like I wouldn't say that they're better than those books. And so I have to like look at it from a scale of everything that the body of work of everything that we've done, not just the Bridgerton books.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
That's fair. I picked 2.5. I did like the book more than the others. I liked the malaria aspect. That was new and fun. The aneurysm, interesting.
Yeah.
R.I.P. John.
Yeah.
And then obviously the complexities of grief, loss, in Francesca struggles with her fertility.
Yeah.
That was all very new and I feel like elevated compared to the rest of the book. So that was interesting. I just really don't care that much about the 1820s. I just don't want to be here.
I know. It's
just hard to relate to.
It is hard to relate to. I definitely agree.
To dive into and just like feel it all.
No, I 100% agree. And I think the thing that I always struggle with in these books is how it is very inconsistent on what we decide to be historically accurate and what we don't. I think I've said it a billion times. I think that's what's like I'm really struggling to get into. I think if it was all very historically accurate, I think I'd have a better time. Or if it was all just pure fantasy, I think I'd have a better time. But because it's kind of riding a line and like being very inconsistent, I'm struggling.
Yeah. It's just hard for me, but it's written good. Like, you know what I mean? There's no like huge grammatical errors or like hard to understand situations. Like it's fine. It's good. So I can't rate it too low, but it's just not my favorite cup of tea.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying reading them.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm actually very excited for Hyacinths.
I have no idea I have not pretty much heard anything from Hyacinth's book.
I haven't either. And I'm very excited because Hyacinth is obviously a character.
I love Hyacinth. I hope, please don't be like the other books where like we're in her head and we hate her.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see though. I bet we are. I bet we'll hate the guy and we'll hate her at the end.
No.
Or we'll love her and we'll hate him. Like, I don't know, but we're going to hate someone. Like, we know it. We're going to love Violet and hate someone else.
Yeah, Violet will always be loved.
This is how it's going to be.
She'll never not be loved.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts on When He Was Wicked?
I don't believe so.
I think we did a pretty good job.
I think that's a wrap.
Oh, we're good time too.
Yeah.
Okay. Next week we are reading Hyacinth's book. It's called It's in His Kiss. We're reading through chapter 11.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for being here. Please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. Send us some fanfic. I want to do an episode with fanfic. I think it'd be so fun. Write a story.
God. Same. I would totally do that.
Yeah. I'm thinking of just like picking fanfic out from fanfic websites.
Yeah. Just starting doing that. Yeah, I agree.
Just crediting the writer, author. I think it'd be fun. Send us fan art.
I'm dying to see myself skinny and in a 1850s.
Come on. You got curves.
I'm dying to see my fat, juicy ass and like super snatched waist in this time period.
Yes.
Please. Ugh.
Come on. Maybe we could do it in AI.
I'm obsessed.
I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at litlibationspodcast@gmail.com.
And I think that's all we got.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week for It's in His Kiss.
It's in His Kiss.
Hyacinth.
Snaps.